Welcome to Mastermind Minutes, the leading podcast for franchisors, franchisees, and entrepreneurs of all types. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we get one expert answer, and we do it in minutes, not hours. Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Mastermind Minutes. My name is Gary Occhigrosso. I'm the founder and managing partner of Franchise Growth Solutions. You know us. We are one of the largest, most premier franchise advisory, franchise development, and franchise sales firms in North America. And we have this podcast called Mastermind Minutes, and it's a very simple concept. For those of you who have followed this or listened to it over the last 4.5 years, you know we have one guest, we ask one question or have one topic, and we get one expert answer on that topic, and we try to do this in minutes, certainly not hours. As we always say, we realize that's a bit of a tease, for the lack of a better word. And at the end of the program, we will give you contact information for our guest, and you can reach out to our guests directly or through their website and learn more about their company or speak with them if you have a question. And today, my guest is Alex Filipuk, and he is, and I've been speaking with him just for a few minutes before the broadcast here. He's a dynamic entrepreneur who's really has a remarkable journey, and it spans across multiple continents. He was born in Belarus to a family of entrepreneurs, and he demonstrated an exceptional academic prowess early on in his career. Now, his career is marked by innovative ventures, and it's interesting because we were just talking about it's sort of a 180, but not really when you think about how you do business. But he made significant contributions to PayPal's European market. He developed the first social media platform in the Russian-speaking world and established successful businesses across multiple sectors. Now, in 2019, and here's what we're going to talk about, he founded a company called Ideal Siding, and he quickly expanded the business through franchising in Canada as well as in the United States. That came a little later on in 2022. Today, he's recognized as an innovative leader in the home improvement industry, leveraging his diverse background in technology, finance, entrepreneurship, and of course now the home service business, which he's kind of revolutionizing that by putting it all under one roof. So, Alex, thank you very much for being with us here today. I truly appreciate it. I think you said you're up in Vancouver, British Columbia, correct?
Thank you, Gary. Yes, we are in beautiful British Columbia.
Good, good. Well, I'm in the New York market. We're just starting to have spring. I don't know what you're doing up there. It might still be cold, but we're just starting to get a little warm. So, before we get into the question, I think it's an interesting question because not only of your background, but just the way you're doing business. Tell us more about you. I mean, you've had an interesting journey. Tell us more about you and tell us more about Ideal Siding, sort of the inspiration and the vision, and then we can get into the question.
Sure. Well, during my early years, my parents were running businesses and I never seen them getting a job. So I actually didn't have a concept of a job when I was growing up. So I started building businesses since I was 17. We built IT outsourcing company. Then we built first social media in Russian speaking space. Then we built a lot of different things. But my passion for all those years was in housing. I was always thinking how to solve the housing problem, and it led me to the business that we have today it's a siding innovation company that we want to build to cover national, like all markets nationally, and become kind of the brand of that will be recognizable, and people will be able to choose reliable company in any market that they live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll tell you that makes sense because I'm one of those people. I know absolutely nothing about home improvement or painting or roofs or siding or whatever. And anytime I have to have work done on my house or around my house, I get really nervous. I don't trust people, just generally. I think because I'm from New York, but then there's this added layer of I don't trust contractors. A, because I don't know what they're telling me, so I have no way of kind of checking it out. And B, because I've had experiences with people who are just not reliable or don't live up to what they say. So, I can appreciate, the branded aspects of what you're doing and how you have a system behind this. And that kind of takes us to the question, because you are a franchise. And I guess, it's interesting. We were talking before we started to record the program about some differentiators in your business. And the question really here is, because you had mentioned to me that you're not, again, you're not selling hamburgers for $10. You're selling jobs where the ticket might be 20, 25, $30,000. So obviously attracting franchisees to a business like that has probably a lot of upside, but it might have some negative side to it also, because selling a $30,000 job versus a $5 hamburger is a little bit more difficult. So why don't you share with us a little bit more about ideal siding and sort of the points of differentiation and how having that level of a ticket can really help a franchisee?
Sure. Yeah. I don't trust contractors either. And I think a lot of people don't because there are so many horror stories. And that was part of the reasons why we started Ideal Siding. There was one local company in Vancouver that collected deposits, 50% deposits from about 70 families. It was around 2.5 million. It was two partners. They bought homes, they bought cars, and they closed the company. And court could not get anything from them because it was their primary residence and personal vehicle, and that's it. So, and that was all over news. And I was like, you know what? And at that time, we already were the largest lead generation company in siding. So I knew exactly how siding business works across different markets. And I went to my mentor and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about building this business." He said, "Well, because you have all this data and you have all this knowledge, you have to do it. Like nobody else have in the world, so you can really change it." Now, when it comes to siding replacement, it's actually a fairly large amount of work, and this is the highest ticket of all renovations. Like it's more expensive than replacing kitchen or windows or roof or flooring. Um, in locations that I have, every check is over 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, our item 19 was over 25,000 for like people who are in first year. Like because when you start, you do a lot of smaller jobs, and then it
Right.
checks goes up. Some of our franchisees who are in third year got projects that are over quarter million, and one was 4.5 million.
Wow.
So when you are dealing with those high ticket items, this is where it gets easier and more difficult at the same time. It's easier because you are not in operational hell where you have like five crews running in or 50 people running in different directions doing multiple sites at the same time, where your average check is, let's say, $200 or $300. So realistically, to hit $1 million, you need 30, 40 projects a year, and that's it. So like three projects a month. So our franchisees typically say if we start one project every week, that's our sweet spot. This is where we hit like really good numbers, and we still can play tennis on Tuesday afternoon.
I love it.
So it's not that difficult actually. Once you get a hold of processes and products, and you have a good crews in place and good relationship with supplier, typically it gets much, much easier. Then franchisees start building second location or second territory. So the difficult part comes in a way that people don't trust anyone with $30,000. So, for example, what we noticed is that if a salesperson who's representing brand is younger than 30, typically it's much more difficult for this person to sell 30,000 plus product. And it was difficult for us to understand, because you go to a Honda dealership, there could be a young kid selling you a car and it's 30,000, and you're like, well, I don't. But then you buying brand, you're buying from dealership, you're not buying from this kid. In home services, in a lot of way, this person affects the decision of homeowner much more than in dealership. So what kind of the issue for us is that we are extremely picky about which franchisee we take. We got right now we got close to 250 people applying every month to buy franchise, and we pick two,
Mhm.
and we launch 2 or 3 locations every month.
Right, right.
So not because we are, like rejecting people, but because we know that selling this $30,000 item, you need to hit particular, look, feel, skill set,
Absolutely.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So with that as the backdrop, because I get it. And I think a lot of that has to do with, and I know for myself, so I'll use myself as the example. You're not only selling the service, you're selling trust, integrity, responsibility, maybe references of folks who can validate that, hey, you've done a good job. There is a lot more to it than you use the example of buying a car, or, I'll say, but, buying a cell phone. I could kick the tires, so to speak, on the car. I could test drive the car. But if you're going to redo the siding on my house, like, I don't know what that is. So I get it. So I'm really buying into the trust and the integrity and the past performance. So again, with that sort of as the backdrop, not to repeat myself, but I will. Tell me, like, so how do you support the franchisees in that effort? Because it sounds like there's got to be some mechanism, and maybe this is what ties into your past with your digital experience. How are the leads generated, and then is there a call center? Is the guy who owns the franchise trying to pitch people? Like, how does that work so that the franchisees can efficiently focus on the guest, the customer, and then delivering the service? Talk to us a little bit about how your system works there.
Sure. So when I was working for PayPal, I was running a lot of digital marketing aspects. I was sending 9 million emails every week. I was running, PPC campaign for the whole country. When I moved to Canada, I started performance-based digital marketing agency. So we would generate clients, and then we'll take part of revenue. And our vertical at that time was translations. We were all certified translations that you need for, corporate deals, for immigration. And the average check there was $100. And we were taking part of $100. And then I thought, well, if we can generate leads, maybe we can generate bigger tickets. So our part, like 10% or 5%, whatever the commission is, will be bigger. And this is how we got into siding and a couple of other construction verticals, because average ticket there was over 20,000, and comparing to $100, that was much, much easier. So we were doing lead generation for over 15 years, and we became the largest lead generation company in siding space. So when we started franchising, we built the system, we tested in 4 different markets. It was much easier for us to launch those locations because we already had leads. So in our case, because we have all those leads, we have in-house marketing department. We generate almost all leads for our franchisees. We also find all the crews that are installing siding. So our franchisees, they typically, we are not teaching them how to install siding. We're teaching them how to run siding business. And then we have in-house designers. So what you said about homeowners, should not trust the contractor. So the way and they would not know what they're actually getting. So what we do, we create a mock-up that shows exactly how their siding will look like on the home, and it's very accurate. Like if there are 17 boards on the wall, it will be 17 boards on a picture. Like it's proper measurements, it's proper color, even like and we can work with pretty much any manufacturer, any color collection, any design collection. And then we create, and it's a free service. So we give it to the homeowner and say, hey, this is how it will look like. And here's different options. And here's pricing for those different options. So before the client decides to go with us or to go with particular design, they already see how it will look.
Right.
Then we don't take deposit. Because like, hey, you don't trust us, we don't trust you, but we are not taking deposit until you see results, you're not paying anything. And clients like, I like that. Let's build trust one step at a time. And then when we start, materials delivered, you see materials that are on your lot, we need the first payment. We started, the work with a particular, progress, we need a payment. So we build trust with homeowners one step at a time because we don't expect them to trust us right away, even though we're already a fairly large company.
Yeah, I can see that. So basically, I'm going to use the word attack. You're attacking the two sort of pain points of the customer. One is they need the job done, and the other one is, can I trust this guy? So you're really focused on the two of them, simultaneous. So I think that, that's terrific. So, um, in terms of people who may want to like get involved or get interested, what does it cost to start the business? How much of that is a franchise fee? Do I have to, if I'm the franchise owner, do I have to buy a whole bunch of inventory? Like, what would I do? Do I need trucks? How does that work?
Well, there are multiple ways on how to run siding business, but we developed the one that we believe is the most flexible and can withstand any things like COVID or lockdowns, and also can thrive and grow very fast when there's a boom in the market. I have seen a lot of companies that have very high overhead break during all those, roller coasters in the market. So in our case, we don't have equipment, we don't have cars, we don't have stock, we don't have office. Franchisee gets iPad and laser to measure the house, uses their own personal vehicle, and work from home. That's it. So we try to do it the way that if there is an issue like a lockdown or something happening, they can scale down to almost zero overhead. And then when there's a boom, they can scale up to 8 crews very, very fast with one team.
Right.
And do like up to $2.5 million in revenue if they scale up to the full capacity for this one location. So in our case, overhead is very minimal. To start business, also there is, because you don't need to buy a car, you don't need to buy equipment. The costs are quite minimal. We are on probably one of the lowest cost franchise that exists, including working capital and kind of all starting costs. It starts around 85,000. We typically ask people to have more liquid money ready to be able to market better and grow their business faster. But in terms of capital needed initially, and that's partially why we have so much demand, like why we have so many people, because they look at us like, oh, that's not very expensive, and I get this big item, projects, and I also don't don't burn my money over years with the overhead. So we get a lot of people who used to run other businesses, and they talk to us and like, oh wow, this is better than the business I had before in restaurant business or retail or IT. And those people's like, you know what? I'll give it a try. Let's go. So we really like when people who had multiple businesses before, they look at our business models like, this is very simple, but it actually makes a lot of sense. And it's simple for them, but for us, because we do all this work that is expensive, hiring all the marketing people, or running in-house call center, design studio, recruiting, all of those services in-house. So our franchisees don't need to worry about that.
Yep. Yep. So, how much is the franchise fee?
55,000.
Okay, so of that initial investment, 55 is the franchise fee. So, um, I understand. I mean, it sounds like you are doing sort of all the back office work, if you will, and obviously that costs you money. So, do you have some home service businesses that provide some of those things? I think you're providing a lot more. But some of the companies that I'm aware of that supply some of those things, they have a royalty, and then they might have an appointment setting fee, and then they have this fee and that fee. Talk to us a little bit about the fee structure. What's the royalties, the advertising? How does that all work for you?
Sure. We are also on the lower end when it comes to fees. Our royalty is 5 to 8%, is scaling as franchisee grows. And then our second largest fee is lead fee, this is exactly what franchisee would spend in their market through the paid channels. There's zero management or admin. It's exactly the amount that they spend. So it's kind of pass-through cost. And then there's $500 a month admin fee, which doesn't really cover call center, but we cover the rest. But it's covering part of it. They don't pay for marketing people. They don't pay for recruiting people. They don't pay for call center or so we are if we were talking to some financial consultants, they would look at our business and say, you know what, you probably can make much more money by outsourcing or pushing those fees to franchisees. We decided that we will go and do a lot of this ourselves in order to help franchisees to grow faster and to be more profitable. And this way, we will have much easier business to run because our franchisees will be happy.
Yeah. Well, again, and that's real. The franchisee's happiness, which a lot of it has to do with am I making money, but it's more than just the money. The franchisee's happiness is really what helps to propel the growth of a franchise organization. We tell our clients all the time, we can sell hundreds of franchises, but if the franchisees aren't profitable, or if they could be profitable, but they're not happy or they don't have a good relationship with the company, when other folks go out to ask them questions, we call it validation, they're not going to hear good things. And then you're not going to sell any franchises. So it sounds like you have a great sort of safety net and support mechanism for the franchisees. So I guess, what I would like to do, because we have to wrap it up here, is I'd love to get your final thoughts on just the idea of, what you really believe the upside opportunities are when you're talking about not only the siding space, the business space itself, but also the idea that a franchisee is coming into a business where they don't need 1,000 customers. Like if I was in a hamburger store, I would need 1,000 customers a month, maybe 2,000 customers a month. You don't need that. So talk to us as a final thought, so the upside to that and how you've really capitalized on that.
It's very interesting because when you talk to people who do different size of projects, they say that the amount of work that is put into transaction of $2 million and transaction of $2,000, the amount of work is actually similar. And this is what's surprising. You still need to meet with the client. You still need to, prepare some offer. You still need to find this client. You still need to execute the project. So I believe that it's better to go after those bigger item. The bigger item better. I think it makes it much easier and less chaotic to build a larger business. So
Yes.
Our franchisees, item 19, first full year is close to 950,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a big number, but it's actually not very difficult to achieve with this average size project. In the first location that we started, we have a lot of projects that are 100,000 plus, because we got to that point where we started, doing those more complex jobs. And I heard over and over that those $100,000 jobs take maybe 20% more work than a $5,000 job. But if you do, two of those a month, that's already great business. And you need to do like 40 of smaller ones a month to achieve the same results.
Right.
And the amount of communication issues, the amount of communication with client, communication within the team, the amount of things that can break on smaller item jobs, it just kind of increases the stress level and amount of work that the person needs to do.
Yeah.
I personally would not be able to run business where the average check is $200. Like it just doesn't make sense in my head. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you my personal experience. So when I was doing marketing, I had to build websites first, and I was charging $2,000 per website. And it was so much back and forth. It was like, hey, what color, what this, tell me about this, show me, portfolio of only green websites that you did for catering companies, or, something like this. And then when we first came to do a quote for siding, And we went in and we said, it's $20,000. They're like, done, let's go. And I was like, wait a second. I will need to sell 10 websites and run every project and to do the same amount of volume as I was have this one project that in citing. And what I realized is that competition in citing space is significantly lower than in website development. And after that, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing websites anymore. I just focus on this.
That's a big transition. Well, I mean, that's great. And I do see the upside to it. And I do see how you've sort of broken the mold, because that's what we like to do here at Mastermind Minutes. We basically share something that somebody can gain some insights from. And my takeaway here is that the bigger ticket is actually maybe the actual work product is more, but the actual to get the client, to sell the client, to generate the leads is maybe just a little bit slightly more than a lower ticket, but you're getting that much more money. So if someone is interested in learning more about Ideal Siding, or maybe even becoming a franchisee, how do they get in touch with you? Is there a website? What's the best way for someone to reach out?
Yeah, the website will be the best way to reach to us. It's idealsiding.com/franchise. They can also find us on LinkedIn. My email is alex@idealsiding. So if they have any questions to me, I'm happy to share my thoughts. Yeah, that's the best way to reach us.
Good, good. Well, Alex, thank you very much for being with us. For those of you who may have joined us late, you'll have to rewind this podcast, but we've been speaking with Alex Filipuk, who is the founder of Ideal Siding, which is a franchise focused on siding, big ticket items. The business model sounds terrific. So I want to thank you for your time today and being with us and sharing your insights.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for everything that you're doing for franchise community, both on the consulting side and everything else that you do.
Thank you. Thank you.